Hello, MUS771. This is Avery Brasbahati, and this is my bibliography video. The topic I chose for my bibliography is Indigenous popular music. This video will unpack how I chose this topic, what the topic actually is, and the process I had to go through to create my bibliography. So, let's get started. What you're listening to is the winning Polaris music performance from 2018. This is Jeremy Dutcher, a classically trained Canadian Indigenous tenor, composer, musicologist, performer, and activist. Dutcher is the first to ever record an album in his native language of Wolastoq, of which there are only about 100 speakers in the world. You may have noticed the iPad sitting on the piano. This is because Dutcher has incorporated 110-year-old field recordings of traditional Indigenous music into his songs. This is a prime example of contemporary Indigenous popular music, but let's hear what Dutcher has to say.
You are in the midst of Indigenous Renaissance. Are you ready to hear the truths that need to be told? Are you ready to see the things that need to be seen? Music is changing this land. And what you've seen on this stage tonight, this is the future. To do this record in my language and have it witnessed, not just by my people, but people from every nation, from coast to coast, up and down Turtle Island. We're at the precipice of something. I do this work to honor those who have gone before. And I lay the footprints for those yet to come. This is all part of a continuum of Indigenous excellence, and you are here to witness it. I welcome you.
Dutcher is not the only musician part of this Indigenous Renaissance. Over the past 50 years, there's been a sharp increase in Indigenous popular music, including A Tribe Called Red, Tanya Tagaq, and We Are the Hallucination. I chose this topic for my second major bibliography because I felt that it was important to represent and explore such an interesting and vivid music that is being produced, but not widely known and not really talked about by scholars. More on Indigenous popular music, we're going to turn it over to the world-renowned musicologist, Fancy Nancy. Thank you, Avery, for having me on your show. As some of you may be aware, it can be quite difficult to research topics that have a possibility of having multiple different interpretations of the name. And of course, Indigenous popular music is one such topic. Why it can be quite difficult for us musicologists to research is that depending on your location, the location of publication, as well as the location of study, can make quite a big difference in the terms that are coming up in the research papers and that are being pulled in your database searches. Another issue can be the issue of time itself. So if you have a topic such as Indigenous peoples, depending on when your study was published, that tends to reflect the larger political climate at the time. So rather than having Indigenous music, you might be finding words like American Indian or Indian music or Native American or Aboriginal. However, that again comes up with a larger issue of if you're having the words Aboriginal or Indigenous, that tends to link to other places that are in the British Commonwealth as well, such as Australia. So these are a couple of things that you really have to keep in mind while you are researching.
Thank you, Fancy Nancy, for those excellent insights.
Creating this bibliography required me to compile multiple resources, such as monographs, encyclopedias, and encyclopedia articles, a list of journals which frequently published articles on the topic, as well as archival materials and credible websites. Adding websites to the bibliography proved to be a little difficult, keeping in mind that the purpose of this bibliography is to provide an overview of the topic. I included the websites that offered the widest range of information on Indigenous pop genres, styles, and artists. I feel that this ensures that the websites give the reader a survey of the field and provide multiple areas for further study or to plan units around if you were to run a class. A particularly useful website was the Native American Music Awards and Association website, which contains information on the past winners of the awards, which are offered in many categories, including Best Female, Best Male, Best Country, Best Rap/Hip-Hop, and Best Rock. I also chose to include 2 websites, which were not specifically about music, but instead were Indigenous-focused news platforms. I feel that this is important because it helps contextualize the music being studied. The last website included on my bibliography is the website CBC Reclaimed. This is the website for a weekly radio show that explores all types of Indigenous music from previous and current generations, including traditional songs, hip-hop, R&B, and electronic powwow. This website provides an indispensable survey of Indigenous music that is not limited. Finding archives dedicated to or with significant collections of Indigenous pop music was difficult, probably due to the fact that most of this music is being created contemporaneously. Another issue when trying to find collections of Indigenous music is that it is a living and sacred tradition that the creators often do not desire or consent for it to be included in archival materials. Despite this, many archives across North America house collections that feature a large amount of traditional Indigenous music. For this bibliography, I've chosen to include only the most prominent collections. This includes the Library and Archives Canada Indigenous Heritage Collection, the Museum of the American Indian with collections in Washington, D.C. and New York, and the American Indian Collection at the American Folklife Center. While I was somewhat disappointed with the amount of materials in archives, I was not surprised. Many resources were used in the compilation of materials included in this bibliography. I found online encyclopedias like Grove Music Online and the Garland Encyclopedia of World Music to be excellent starting points for this project. Both offered a thorough overview of the topic and provided direction for further research. Library catalogs, like the West Virginia University Library, proved very useful, especially with the option to search libraries worldwide. WorldCat was a great addition to this as well and helped round out the search for monographs. I used the JSTOR database to sift through large collections of articles, and because JSTOR displays the periodicals in that the article appears in with the initial search, I was able to quickly see which journals appeared most frequently in the results. I evaluated the sources I found using some of the methods we've learned in this class, such as the CRAP test. I was also very surprised that I was able to find a few monographs dedicated specifically to the topic. I was not expecting this, and it shows that the gap in the field was not as big as I expected.
In the midst of an Indigenous renaissance, vibrant cultural transformations are emerging at a staggering rate. This bibliography offers an overview of the field of Indigenous popular music in an attempt to acknowledge and celebrate the roots of popular Western genres and traditions, as well as the contributions of Indigenous artists. The diversity and versatility of Indigenous cultures are reflected in this music, and it is my hope that this short bibliography of Indigenous popular music will inspire and provide the preliminary groundwork for further research. Thank you for watching my video.